Welcome to the first episode of the Hookzilla podcast. I'm Hook, and tonight I'm joined by Mr. Bones, aka Mitch, aka Batman St. Randy.
Salutations.
And we are going to discuss relationships without shared interests. And the reason that this came up was something on the internet about the girlfriend bought her boyfriend a video game.
Yeah, I saw that.
And made him sign a contract to play Call of Duty.
I legitimately hoped it was just a meme. Like that didn't really happen. Like I hoped, but I know it happens. But like when I saw that, I was like, that has to be like somebody took this picture and then took another picture and like added.
I don't think so. I'm 100% certain there is some woman who bought her boyfriend that game and made him sign a contract saying that he could only play it when she allowed him to play, or she didn't need him around, or she didn't need attention from him. And I saw it and lost my mind. And I'm sure there are going to be women who listen to me say this and want me to shut my mouth. I would not be okay with someone telling me I couldn't play a video game or do something I wanted to do.
Right. It isn't. I don't think it's necessarily just video games. It's everything,
God, no.
Right? It's like it's your music. It's like it's your interests. And so, like I lived with this, and it doesn't make sense to me because, like, I don't know. I know people change and people pretend.
Well, I mean, people as human beings evolve and grow over time,
but
or
same,
should be.
Like they should. Some people don't.
Right.
But like, I don't understand this idea that somebody is good enough in one way, or maybe in a couple of ways, that you're like, I could be in a relationship with this person.
Except for that.
I only need to change this. I need to train them like in this way, right? And I think that happens a lot, and it I don't know. I don't understand it because I don't do that.
I think that when you meet someone, and it's not even like necessarily romantic relationships either. Like I'm talking about just interpersonal relationships.
Sure.
There are sometimes things that come up and you're like, well, and I'll call it a yellow flag. You're like, is that something that I could really deal with on an ongoing basis?
Right.
And honestly, like, some of those things are not even important things. It's like someone that takes their shoes off in a weird way. I mean, just silly stuff.
Sure, but at the same time, and there was a great episode of How I Met Your Mother where that is a thing, where it's like there might be something that aggravates you about a person that somebody else doesn't see, but when you call it to their attention, then they can't unsee it, right? Yeah. So it's like, I think it was Lily who she chews crunchy food too loud. And like Robin's like, Jesus Christ, are you eating chips or drywall screws? and like once I watched that, like for the rest of my life, I'm so self-conscious about eating like Chex Mix and shit in a quiet room because I'm like, Jesus Christ, everyone is sitting there like, fuck, is he ever getting to the bottom of that bag? Like, please shut the fuck up, right?
No, see. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, I've thought of this too. I'm a nice person. People get along well with me. I get along with anyone. Typically. Kiss my ass. How about that? But there are going to be things that I do that are irritating. But when it comes to like someone wanting me to give up something that is, and I say part of who I am with air quotes, because
No, I don't think so. I think that you're absolutely that's correct.
like I like the kind of music I like. And actually today at work, so I like an eclectic mix of music. And so the people at work don't know about like how heavy my musical taste tends to go sometimes. And
Sure.
I was listening to my favorite Tool album while doing paperwork and math, which I needed music to help with.
Sure.
We know that. And she walks in and she's like, "What is that?" Like, she was terrified of what I was listening to. So to be, and I'm in a relationship specifically, but to be with someone who's like, "Well, I hate your music," or why do you listen to that? Or
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? So specifically, even just talking about music, it's funny how if it's not a conversation, and I'm just talking about like in a romantic relationship, just like you said, a work relationship, when you can get along with somebody so well that you spend 8 hours a day or however long it is a day with,
right,
and a conversation has never come up, like your musical taste or what. So it's like me at my work, right? Like we don't, like we play the a shitty local radio station that plays. They have the nerve to call it Mix 96.7,
right,
and those motherfuckers play 6 songs, and only 6 songs, all fucking day. Like for like 9 hours, I hear the same 6 songs. So much so that like when we hang out, I'll play them, be like, "Hey, you don't like this song? Because I do." And I'm like, I don't know if I like it or if it's Stockholm Syndrome, because I'm forced to listen to it for 9 hours a fucking day, 5 days a week, right?
right,
But you can be like somebody, you can consider somebody at work a friend.
of course,
But that's a conversation that like what do you like to listen to? What do you like to listen to when we're not forced to listen to this bullshit?
right.
And then you're like, "Oh, well, I like Whitechapel."
They would
And they
stare at me if I let them hear some of the
Right.
stuff I listen to. They'd be like, "Oh my God,
Like,
she's
that's-
gonna kill us."
I've had that happen, right? Because like I would be
Well,
like,
you're the evil serial killing dentist, right?
I am, yes. Larry.
Larry, yes.
Larry, the serial killing dentist, DDS. Dr. Giggles 2. Like, I can't wait to star in that movie. But
That's so great.
I get it. So I used to do that though. Like when I was setting up a surgery, and I knew I was going to be in the room for a while by myself because it was be a big case. I had a lot of trays, a lot of instruments to get out. So that I had CDs because I'm old. I had like mixed CDs in my locker at work, and I would put one in and start it, and then like I would have the volume kind of down low or whatever, and then I would go scrub and start to set up, and then while I was still working, like, and my music was playing, like they'd wheel the patient into the room. And specifically, I remember one time it was some song, and it was like it started off like low and like kind of slow and stuff like that, and then I looked at the anesthetist and I was like, you need to turn the radio off. And like she was like, "No, it's fine, don't worry." I was like, no, it's about to get way better. You need to stop it because it's going to scare not only everyone else in the room but the patient who's already scared because they're about to have surgery.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you can work with somebody every day and you never have those conversations about, "Hey, I play Destiny, I listen to metal, I listen to nasty rap," like whatever it is, right? Whatever you're into.
Read all those.
You can consider them an actual friend and them not know shit about you for real.
basically. But the difference I feel like is while my coworker today was like she knows about the nasty rap side of me and like, you know, the slow jams and like the old 90s stuff. And she knows I listen to like heavier music, but not anywhere near as heavy as like some of the stuff I listen to. But the difference is I don't see my coworker being like, now we're cool and like we could hang out if you didn't do this, if you didn't like that thing.
Right.
Like, and I think that's the difference when it's someone that's your friend. Like, you're not going to be like, well, I don't enjoy that interest, so I'm going to try to get them to not do it anymore because I would rather them do things that I want to do with them. And I think that's part of it, right? Like, so let's say I didn't like sports or the things I like or whatever. I'm not going to tell someone else that they shouldn't spend time watching football and instead spend time with me because I don't understand that thought pattern. I don't understand saying, well, I don't really enjoy this, so you shouldn't either.
Right. Or not only that you shouldn't enjoy it, but you should rather be sitting here with me doing nothing than doing something you enjoy.
Well, or worse, for me, like, let's say it's to do something that I absolutely do not find enjoyable, but actually find unpleasant. Like watching something that I specifically do not enjoy watching.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, I feel like to force someone to give up something they do enjoy for something that you enjoy isn't fair. And so...
No, it's not. That's like sociopathic shit.
But like so many people do this. And it's super common. And I mean, it's not just women that have contracts about video games. So I'm not trying to do that. But specifically, historically, it is more geared towards women about that.
I don't know that I think this is specifically, historically, more about women saying, like, so I think that...
For video games, I think it is.
Sure, I'm saying, I'm right, like, I agree with you that it's more like the nerdier shit, like nerd stuff. And I think that historically, sports have been more like a male thing, but when you get deeper into it, because yourself included, like, I know women who give way more of a fuck about football than I do.
I do.
You do care more about football than I do. But you also enjoy hockey, because, like, I don't know many people that care more about hockey than I do. And I won't say you care more than I do, but you're right there with me. But I think that shit, like, it's the whole thing, right? Why do we stereotype anything anymore? It's fucking 2020, right? People like what they like.
Absolutely.
So why do we stereotype things? Why do we?
Well, and it's perpetuating it though. It's like
right, exactly. So it's like you say video games, even now, when video games is like the biggest fucking entertainment industry on the planet.
It's bigger than everything else,
right? And
damn near combined.
Everybody, even our moms, who would never play a video game, right? They're like, I don't know, this is older, but it's like fucking Farmville and shit on Facebook, right?
Like mom plays slot machines on a tablet, like
exactly, like
she is about that life.
Everybody plays video games,
right? But that's the thing is like. And I'm going to say this. So let's say we flip the script on that and say, okay, so women who like to go out and go shopping with their friends.
Women be shopping.
I am horrible at that. And my friends get really upset with me because I don't enjoy that. Like, I would much rather play a video game. God forbid.
I know.
I can't help that. It's bad that I am a bad friend sometimes, but
You're the worst.
I am the worst. Jesus. But so if someone were like, if that girl's husband was like, you know what? I don't want you to go shopping with your friends. I feel like it would be so blown out of proportion. Like, how dare you?
Yeah.
You know, like, but we see this joke and it's perpetuated, like the Call of Duty contract.
Sure.
You said something about the sports, not.
Yeah, only men watch
Yeah.
sports, and so like the whole thing, like I saw the thing today, and it was like day one, because like the coronavirus, which
Apocalypse 2020.
I had, and I survived
I think
like a
so
champ.
many households I know of like
Didn't even
went
go to
through
the
this.
fucking doctor until like I was knocking
You
on.
should have been gone to the
I
doctor.
was
like,
knocking
early
on hell's door, not heaven's door. But
So bad.
yeah, like it was like day one without sports. Had a conversation with my wife today. She seemed like a super nice person. And then like some other bullshit, and I was like, okay, like
Right.
it's a joke, I get it, but at the same time, like really, and it was like turns out the color of the TV is black when it isn't turned on, and I'm like, okay,
That's
you didn't know that. First of all, it's not even that funny. It's stupid. The other thing is, why do we in this 2020 do we still have to pretend like only men watch sports?
Again.
Why do we have to pretend like only men play video games? Like it's like the whole like quarantine thing going on right now. It's like, oh, like it's like some of it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like I shared one. It was
yeah.
Marilyn Manson looking out the window of his mansion, holding like a drink.
Yeah.
And he's like, CDC, avoid people, stay at home, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I've been prepared for this day my whole life.
Right.
And I have, because that's what I do. Not because of the coronavirus, because of the stupidity virus that's been going on here for way too long.
Yeah.
But, like, the fact that it's 2020 and we still pretend like only one gender or only certain people can enjoy anything.
Well, exactly. Like, okay,
anything.
I've dated or been with people who liked shopping or typical, and they're not effeminate. Like, I'm not saying, oh, they're a wuss, but they like typical female stereotypical activities way more than I did. And then obviously, like, I like metal and horror movies and video games and sports and all of these stereotypically male things more than they did.
Mm.
So it's not, I think it's bullshit to place that on either side.
It absolutely is.
But I
But we
get
still do it.
upset when I don't care who likes doing what. Like, do you, but if by doing you're going to ask someone else to change how they do them,
Yeah.
that's when it becomes a problem for me. So
Sure.
I feel like if you feel, and I don't think that this means you shouldn't communicate how you feel about things.
Oh,
Like, if you feel legitimately neglected by someone you're with because they stay locked in their room playing a game, by all means have that conversation. But at the same time, it should not be this, I don't want you to play a game, but instead I want you to spend time with me.
Yeah.
Or you should give up video games, or you should give up
Right. That's the thing.
the
like,
thing that you really enjoy
Right.
because I don't like it, and you should do what I like instead.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying men don't do that, because they absolutely do. I'm just saying what we're seeing, like all of these memes on the internet, lately. And
Well.
there were like, they're in a week time frame. I saw like 8
Yeah.
of women who were upset because their significant, and it's not just video games, like it's, my man likes to go hunting.
Right, it's everything, yeah.
Or fishing or whatever. But we forget women go do things that men don't accompany them to do, like shopping. And I use shopping because that's the only thing I can think of.
Women be shopping.
Because they do. They go to the spa. I forgot about that one. Okay, so there are obvious differences, but in a situation like if I were dating someone and they were like, I want you to give up something that means a lot to you, it's not going to happen. And I don't know why in relationships people feel the need to alter the things that they, okay, if that's the case, if you feel like you need to alter something about someone else, they're probably not the person for you.
Right. Like you like I said, like there are you see finger quote potential for a relationship, but like going into a relationship with someone who has potential because you're into one or two things about them and you feel like you can change the rest of it is unfair to yourself and to them, especially again if it's Batman St. Randy, because your boy don't change. I like what I like, and it's I obviously, like, you know, my taste over the years somewhat tweaked, but I like what I like.
Right.
And you know, I don't.
My mom has been trying for my entire 36 years to get me to like different things than I liked. But I still want the Ninja Turtle van with the ooze. I'm just saying. That's who I am.
So if that's what you're into, then I don't understand wasting your time, their time.
Well, and
by being like, you're good enough.
That hurt. Like that's a sting, right? Like, but then I feel like that's not communicated. It's not like that other person is told that from the beginning.
No, they're not, because you pretend that you're super into them, and then.
But if there's like a red flag,
once there's like that commitment,
oof,
then you're like, it's like all right, so it's older, and people who are maybe listening to this won't remember it, but it was like Sinbad did an HBO comedy special called Brain Damaged,
oof,
and he got into this, right? And he's like, when you first meet somebody and you start dating, and like you go to the movies, and you're like, maybe you want some popcorn? She's like, no, I don't need it. Whatever it is, I'll experience it through you. And he's like, no, well, you could have some popcorn. He's like, no, I don't need the popcorn. I'll just suck the butter from your fingertips. And like shit like that, right?
Right.
And he's like, and you like, oh shit, you're thinking you the man now. Like, yeah, oh my God. Like she's like that into me and shit. And then he's like, you start, get a big head, and then you stand in front of the judge or the preacher, and you're like, I do. And she's like, I do. Some things about to change up in here. I don't think I like your attitude.
Oh.
And it's like, it throws you for a loop. Because and I did the same. I lived this, which is stupid, because it was like that HBO special was like, fuck, man, late 80s, early 90s.
I was way too young to be watching it.
And then
throw that out there.
And then I lived it.
Yeah, I did twice. Like the thing, it's I don't want to say like you're basically signing the deal with the devil when you sign on that dotted line, but I've done it. And things change. I don't know what it is about that, but like something goes haywire after that. Like,
no.
Admittedly, some things did before that, though. Both times. Never mind. I think it's just people. Never mind.
It's people. But the other thing is like, all right, it's like I said, And
I got you on lock. Now I can make you do whatever I want.
exactly. Like there was something there.
That was very aggressive.
It was.
Sorry.
There was something there that I was attracted to or interested in, and I saw potential.
I don't want to be someone's potential, though.
That's
right?
the worst word to ever use going into a relationship.
Yeah,
And because that, to me, is indicative of you're not the one, but you're the one right now, right?
Or you're taking this puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit, and you're going
something
to
like
to
I'm
make it fit.
so tired of not being in a relationship that you check one box, and I can be okay with that until.
But nobody would actually ever be okay with that, and I think that's the problem. Like, you don't have to be with someone else to be a whole person.
Oh, no, not at all.
And I feel like people disregard that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what? There are billions, like what, 6.7 billion people on the planet? Unless coronavirus takes us all out, whatever.
Fingers crossed.
But
although I survived it, so.
Yeah, we can't get it twice. It's a virus. But there are all these people, and there are going to be things that each one person, like everybody's going to do something that irritates you or
Sure.
doesn't work for you.
Right.
But at the same time, like, you don't have to try to fit the puzzle piece into the spot.
Exactly. It's like trying to pound the square peg into the round hole, right?
Right. But like, okay, and I get that it's hurtful. But sometimes it is just better to be like, you know what? We don't really see things from the same perspective. Or
right.
There's a lot that doesn't work for me. So, like, you know, even if feelings are involved, like if you can legit care about somebody,
sure,
but no, they're not the person for you.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're in a situation where you feel the need to alter or change someone's
or yours
or your own, absolutely. Like if you feel like you're giving up parts of who you are to appease someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean like to make compromises, because that's a totally different thing.
Oh yeah. No, you're talking about like legitimately like ignoring
actual deep rooted interests. Yes.
Right. Things that you legitimately make you happy just because the other person doesn't feel that way about them.
Right.
Like me, like if I met someone and we liked Justin Timberlake.
Right.
And I was like, ooh, I'm going to be in a relationship with that person. And then they came here and saw my house and saw my video games and my Blu-ray collection. And they were like, holy shit, he's a monster. Like, I'm not going to...
I don't think your video games and Blu-rays would be the thing that would make them think that. It's like Jason masks.
Whatever it is, I'm just saying, if all we had in common was this one very generic, and
yeah, because everybody loves Justin Timberlake,
sure,
by the way.
Which is why I said generic.
Right.
But like, if there was a physical attraction, and then we figured out we had one thing in common, I'm not going to not like all this other shit.
Right.
Right? Because that's me. This is the shit that makes up me. And so I think like a lot of people try to force relationships, like that whole opposite track bullshit.
That's not true.
No. I don't read into that at all, because that is exactly like, that's a recipe for disaster. Like that old saying, like opposites attract, right? Sure, whatever. But
what keeps them
what's
together?
the divorce rate? What, it's 50%?
Yeah.
So there's that.
Right.
Like, because opposites may attract in some way, but like
there may be this magnetism, but there's no glue to hold it.
right. And
so yeah, that's not going to work. I mean,
think
maybe it could, but I don't see it working.
so. I don't. It's not me. That ain't me. Like, I don't change. I haven't changed. Like,
no, in like 2 decades, I've
right.
You're
Like
the same
the
person.
shit that I liked when I was X age is the shit I'm still gonna like when I got 1 foot in the grave. Like, I'm not gonna change. Like I said, we grow. You feel differently about certain things. You mature, sure.
Hopefully.
Right. But I think who you are is who you are. And I think that when you're younger and you're stupid, like, you'll pretend to be into certain things or not do certain things. But the older you get, the less of a fuck you
Yeah,
give.
you know, it's like, no, that's some bullshit.
Right.
I will say that being a girl who liked Star Wars was not something I shared with people. Because it got a lot of, like, there were people who wanted to tell me about Star Wars. And there were these guys that I might have been interested in who were like, well, let me tell you this about this movie. And I'm like, okay, I have no idea what you're talking about. Meanwhile, like, I watch Star Wars like on repeat and can quote the movies. But I acted like I didn't because there was this idea that they were teaching me something cool. And I don't know why, like, I didn't want them to think I was the nerdy girl because back then it wasn't cool. Like, now people make billions off of that.
Oh my God, yeah, now.
God, if I just had some knee socks on, right? But back then I didn't want people to know that. And the older I got, there was this moment, and I was in my 20s, and I remember going, you know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
I read Batman comics at 4.
I know more of this than you do. Shut the fuck up. Or like, let me tell you.
Wait, no, that is not what that is
right.
at all.
Let me explain to you why you're
now,
wrong.
son.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or like, oh my God, when somebody tries to tell me, like, specifically, like, football. Wait, oh, you're talking about that game? No, I watched that. That is not what happened at all. And they're like, well, you don't even know. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, this is not something you don't take someone's actual, like, I'm not going to pretend that anymore. Like, I was 14, 15 when I would be like, I don't know Star Wars. Like, or I don't understand football. Meanwhile, like, I've been watching football with my dad since birth.
Right.
By the time I was 8, like, I could have figured out how to run a play myself. Like, it wasn't a thing. So, yeah, no, I knew football too. I just pretended not to have a clue because, I don't know, like, I thought being stupid was somehow cute. So, the older I got, the more I learned, like, you don't pretend that. Like,
no.
Like what the hell you like and go on about your business. But then the opposite happened in that, well, I like these things, but, you know, this person doesn't, so I'll just do it less.
I think that there's a, when you're talking about relationships like that, like, obviously there's compromise, there's
Exactly.
you accept, and you generally want to, you know, do things to people that you're not into, but it makes them happy. I think the issue, there's not an issue until it becomes a thing where, like, how this all kicked off with that weird, like, this female, no, this person doesn't even have to be a female.
Gender isn't an issue in this one.
This person obviously wasn't into video games, but she was into the relationship enough to know that her
significant other,
or their significant other, you have to play the pronoun game.
Yeah.
Their significant other was into games, and so she bought them a game.
Right.
And I can't imagine this actually happened. I don't think it was real. Like, it has to be a joke.
I want it to be a joke because of how it was worded and how strongly
the idea that you can be in a relationship with someone. This is the whole thing. The idea that you can be in a relationship with someone and your interests be so polar opposite that you care enough to buy them a thing, but then still feel like you need to write up a contract and have them sign it as to when and how much they can enjoy that thing. I will never understand.
Well, you know what? Maybe, and I didn't think about this until we were having this conversation, which is why this exists, right? This is why I wanted to have this conversation. It's so that, like, maybe while having a conversation about this, I could hash out ideas with another person. What if maybe the person given the gift has some restraint issues, like some self-restraint issues, and would get lost in a video game for days on end?
Yeah.
As someone who, I try to be very limited in how I play video games, because if I start playing, and I mean, obviously it's Destiny 2 because that's pretty much all I do. But if I play certain things before I go to work, I panic because I'm afraid I'm going to be late for work. And I can't, I'd refuse to be late for work. That's like a no-no for me. So I have the self-restraint to know I shouldn't do it. People don't. So maybe, just maybe, she was helping him.
Right, well, we'll never know.
No, because we don't know if it's real or not.
It was a fucking meme. Like, we have no idea.
But
it does bring up like conversation. Like,
right.
Because I think that even if this specific example was a meme, like, I think that shit like that absolutely does happen.
Of course. Well, I mean, and here's the difference, and this is kind of what I want to take away from this, is I feel like a relationship should, you should want to make one another happy, and you should want to watch one another become the best version of themselves.
Sure.
Right?
And
you help facilitate that.
Right.
By whatever you need to do. Like, you grow and develop together as individuals. But I feel like, and these are, different things, all within a week, and it had me ranting for days. And it was just how people want to change other people, specifically in relationships. But I mean, I've had friends who liked, and I'll use country music as a thing, but like, they want to show me the new country song that just came out, and I'm just like, no, thank you. Like, it's just not something I'm going to be into. Sure. And it's great that you are, and I will listen to it with you.
Right.
But I'm not going to go download it.
Right.
And at the end of the day, like, when in a relationship, I feel like if someone is setting you up with those types of things where they're telling you, I don't want you to do this, or I want you to change this about yourself, or you start seeing, not that you're making compromises, but that you're like giving up actual pieces of who you identify yourself as, that should be enough for you to say, this might not be the right thing for me.
Right.
And sometimes I guess that's a little tougher to admit, right? Like,
yeah.
Nobody
Well,
wants to feel like a failure. If everything's great and you get along great, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're supposed to be with that person.
right. You know, I think that this particular topic, like most topics in life, we can go back and refer to the writings of our Lord and Savior Kevin Smith.
Right.
In this particular instance, we'll reference the book of Clerks, chapter 2,
Yes.
where Dante is clearly in love with Rosario Dawson's character, but is prepared to leave Jersey and move to Florida with Jennifer, Kevin's wife Jennifer's character.
Right. His fiance.
His fiance. And he's obviously doesn't want to do that, but he feels like
He's obligated to do that because he's engaged to her.
that's what he should do because she's the hot girl, and he's going to be given a job and be given a house.
She's kind of got it set up. Like she's got money.
Her parents obviously have money, and like she's set him up for what we perceive as success, I guess.
Right.
But he's way happier living in New Jersey, working at movies.
Right.
With
her,
Rosario Dawson, and his best friend, Randall, who is an amazing person, who I would absolutely be best friends with.
Of course you would.
Is basically calling him out on his bullshit the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like he cares enough to support his best friend's choices that as a send-off, he schedules a donkey show to happen.
Right.
But at the same time, like,
he's very blunt about this not being the right thing for him the whole time. Yeah.
And I think that while their relationship is not necessarily romantic, once you like peel back the bullshit, like macho, like male stigma to having other male friends, it very much is a romantic relationship. Like, he loves him.
Right.
They love each other, obviously.
Yes.
But Dante is prepared to uproot his entire life
because
that's what he should do.
Right.
And Randall's like, hey, you're an idiot. You know, we love each other. This is what we should do. Like, this is what we're meant to do. And like, I just think Kevin Smith should write, like, Kevin Smith should like sit down and meet with every human being and then write what they're meant to do.
That would make sense.
Because
should we send him this?
I mean, I'll tag him in it. I don't give a fuck. But and he may not listen to it. That's fine.
Why would he listen?
But and that's obviously, I'm like just saying stupid shit. But you know, Kevin Smith has been very influential on me because
I think it's our whole generation.
It's our generation, right? Yeah. But like the same thing's like, all right, so when the first An Evening with Kevin Smith came out, which is his like spoken word thing where he goes to college and stuff like that, and it was like I got the DVD from Netflix because I'm old enough to remember when Netflix mailed you DVDs.
Oof.
And then you burned them,
Grandpa,
so you could have your own copy, and then you mailed it back because you wanted them to send you something else to burn, right? And it was like, it's 4 hours long, and I was like, well, I'll watch an hour here and there this week, whatever. Now, once it started,
you were there.
I didn't move from my couch for 4 hours, and when it was done, I was like, is that it? Like, I could watch 4 more hours of that easily, right?
Well, he's great because of that.
Because that dude, he understands, and I don't know why specifically, but he understands like human interaction and relationships and like just this whole like the way the world is now, right?
well,
Like he was so ahead of the times, like because he was so into comics and like not just
when it wasn't cool to be.
sure,
Right.
but not just that, but like he's incredibly intelligent. He writes amazing movie scripts that are smarter than I will ever be. But his like understanding of human relationship is
The psychology behind it is
right.
yeah.
I think he's on a different level than most people.
I think there's a lot of insight into, like, and you're talking about Clerks too, which is hilarious, and I love that movie. But I'm always going to go a little further back and go to Clerks because, and he has this girlfriend, like we talk about it all the time. We make jokes. 37, yes, like. I mean, that is what it is, and that where I'm not getting, that is not a rabbit hole I want to go down. But I will say that, like, someone who does things and cares about you, and you're hung up on something that is so trivial that it shouldn't matter, because it shouldn't, doesn't mean it doesn't. It shouldn't. But I mean, 37.
I don't know if sucking 37 dicks is trivial.
Well, it's not.
That seems like some pretty heavy-handed shit to not let somebody know.
I mean, that is a lot. We shouldn't go down that rabbit hole. That's a different conversation.
Not going.
Okay, but I'm saying, like, when he starts talking about her bringing him lasagna to work, and most bitches wouldn't bring you lasagna.
Or not Jay, but Bob, who has like one line.
They'll just cheat on you.
Yeah.
She's not doing that. She's
there's like
coming up here to bring you dinner.
Right. There's like
you get a good one.
There's a million fine legal women in the world, but most of them don't bring you lasagna to work. They just cheat on you.
Right.
Right.
So, and I think the reason that people sometimes make concessions like, well, we don't have all these things in common, or I really wished she didn't do this, or I wished he didn't do that. We make concessions for stuff like that. And we overlook the things like bringing you lasagna to work.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, sometimes I think the best thing to do would be just take a step back and change your perspective for a second. And, think about it. Somebody you cared about was with this person.
Right. Yeah, right.
Like
if it's like, yeah.
Would you be worried about them? Like, would you think that they were happy? Would you want them to be happy? Yes. Like, why?
Like, that's hard, right? Like to have been invested in a person, good or bad, and then I think to have the ability to, if things say didn't work out or whatever it is,
right,
and then to still acknowledge the fact that you cared about this person, but they just weren't the person for you, but to still be somehow in their life and watch them be happy with someone else, like that's hard, I think, because
it depends on the type of relationship. Because
no, I'm saying like or like a
you mean
like you were with that person,
super committed romantic
not
relationship,
friends,
not like
no,
I mean even like dating, like casually dating somebody.
I think that's hard. I really think that's hard because
that makes me feel like a horrible person.
You have to acknowledge your flaws in not necessarily flaws, but like you're like
what you're bringing to the table that may not work for them too.
Right, and I think that's hard to do. And then when you see them with someone else, and maybe things don't look from the outside looking in all that different than what you perceived as what you had. Ooh, like it's a lot to like unpack there.
Well, and I think the thing is you're never going to, from the outside looking in, you're not going to see that. So,
well, the thing is, like the people that are not on the outside don't see it a lot of times, right? And I think that's how we end up with people, and things don't work out because you're like, hey, this person, I'm attracted to this person for whatever reason,
Right.
but there's only like one aspect that works. But when
Like, I don't want to be alone, like that
for
kind
lack
of
of a
thought.
better term, right? You don't want to be alone, and you for lack of a better term, shoot your shot.
Right, because you
And
like
they
care about that person as a human being.
like they reciprocate, and you're like, oh great, now we're together, and you're like, we literally only have that one thing, and I like all these other things, and she or he doesn't, or I liked these things, and we had this one thing in common, and then she or he likes all this other shit, and I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Right,
Like,
I have no interest in that at all.
right, and so
Well, and I think a lot of the time, and we're talking about specifically when things are based purely on a physical attraction. And this is why, like, someone being a trophy wife or a trophy husband is really hard for me.
I get that a lot.
I was waiting for you to say that in this episode. And you hadn't. And you made my night. But I feel like just basing something purely off of a physical attraction.
Right, but I not
Like,
even,
that has to be there, but a lot of times, sometimes that's all that's there. And then I wouldn't want to be around someone that I had nothing in common with. We shared no common interest. Like, our moral compass wasn't the same. Our views on ethical things weren't the same. Political views, whatever you want to call it. Like, when there isn't anything else in common,
yeah.
and all you have is like, you're hot, then that's whatever.
Thank
Thank
you.
Okay, Batman St. Randy. The idea is that you should have more than that.
Not just the idea, your hope is.
But sometimes, like, there isn't a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the kind of the problem comes in. And like, let's say take a dude or girl who's nerdy and likes to play video games, and someone that they are uber attracted to gives them the time of day, and then lords it over their head.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It shouldn't.
It doesn't.
No, long term it absolutely wouldn't.
Unless, for whatever reason, someone is willing to completely change who they are.
And they shouldn't do that, though.
No, absolutely not.
Because, I mean, I will freely admit that I've been in situations where I've given up whole aspects of my personality to try to, and I say placate or appease, but it didn't start out that way. So I didn't even see it happen because it was gradual. But, like, we've had conversations where you're like, have you seen this? I'm like, nope, I have no clue. And yeah, like, I mean, how many movies, like, used to we would have a conversation about movies, like, of course I've seen that. Like, are you kidding me? And now I have a list of like 7 million movies I need to catch up on now.
Yeah.
Because years went by and I just kind of gave up watching stuff because there wasn't a joint interest in that. So, and I'm not, blaming another person entirely for the choice I made to kind of concede my own interest. But if that is something that you're doing, you may want to reapproach that. Because it gets really miserable when you don't feel like you are who you are anymore.
Yeah.
And as we get to, I think we're pushing an hour. Like, yeah, it should be pretty close to an hour. Ooh, we got 5 minutes to an hour.
I'm
not finishing that.
We're gonna cut that.
No, why would I do that? That's great. I feel like this was a lot more eye-opening on the side that I wasn't on. Because I was thinking from a different perspective a little bit. Like, well, maybe there's a reason that she needed to do it that way, or...
So yeah, it's something that when you're referencing that meme specifically, it's really easy to take, especially if you play video games or you're into whatever it is. It's super easy to be like, what the fuck this
Yeah,
bitch,
no,
like that's
you're
stupid.
not telling me to not to
The
do my
fuck is
shit,
wrong
yeah.
with this bitch, right? Like shit like that. But you know,
We don't know.
we don't know if that's even real. We don't know this person.
I mean, it could have been a funny joke between a couple that
Exactly.
they posted to be funny, and like
But-
people who knew them might have known it was a joke, but
Right.
it gets on the internet and now
Right.
it's blown out of proportion.
But
We don't know.
when you look at it and you kind of when you get over the initial like knee jerk reaction to it and you start to unpack it, your hope is that it was a playful joke.
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, we don't know
Honestly,
what they go through.
it probably wasn't. And I mean,
Like, we don't know
I'd
what
put money on
these
it, but-
people who may or may not have even been in a couple. It may just have been a picture that somebody cut with another picture. We don't know.
yeah.
But if we knew these people, you know, your hope is that it was like a joke, like you said. But you know, when you maybe pay a little more attention to it or start to think about it from both perspectives,
Yeah.
it could have been. I'm a controlling, manipulative person. It could have been a plea for attention that someone's not getting. Like it's a really deep thing.
Well, and I think if that's the situation, and the person in the picture is young. So, I mean, I have a 17-year-old son, and I remember being a teenager myself, and I feel like the level of attention I probably needed then is a little more than I would need now, because I'm a lot more self-reliant in my 30s. But at the same time, if she felt like she needed that much attention, or she was going to lose that much of his attention, a simple conversation,
Sure.
which may have been why it was a joke. I
and
don't know.
May have happened, but like what we're talking about is just basically what most of the world is these days, is a knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
That's
I mean,
why I'm
and-
sick of the fucking internet.
Well, I
'Cause,
mean,
like,
and that's like, it had me so mad. Like I talked about that for 5-6 days, because it wasn't just that meme. It was that one and 2 or 3 more that within a 2 or 3, 4-day period maybe set me off, and I was just done with everything. I didn't care anymore. I was so sick of all the crap about not allowing your mate to do something they enjoyed.
right.
And that was kind of it for me.
Yeah.
This has actually been really fun. I'm really glad that you sat down with me to have a conversation about people doing people things.
I hate people.
Right? I mean, I probably shouldn't say that. I work with the public, so I love people. They make my paycheck.
I do work with the public, but
According to Wikipedia, People is an American weekly magazine of celebrity and human interest
Yes.
stories published by Meredith Corporation with a readership of 46
Your Google is so fancy.
It has the largest audience of any
And
American
it's still
magazine.
talking. Okay. it's
why?
good.
Thank you, Google. You are correct.
That was great. But
Thank
I'm
you for
going-
having me on the what episode?
this is the inaugural episode.
There you go. Of the Hookzilla podcast,
Yes.
which I am honored to have been a guest upon.
Aw. So we can find you where?
Well, I have another podcast with my best friend Brandon called Divided by Werewolves. which I named because he is under the false pretense that the Howling has the best practical werewolf transformation in the history of cinema, and I more accurately believe that American Werewolf in London is the greatest practical werewolf transformation in history, as we
Once again,
high-five.
you and I agree. How does he feel the howling? Like, I don't even understand that.
So we are on like basically everywhere that you can find podcasts, as far as I know, like because that's kind of been up to me. But just Divided by Werewolves, and then I'm on Twitter at Mr_Bones. If you're interested in pictures of my Destiny characters, and like retweets of Shudder, their horror related shit.
Yeah, Fangoria.
Fangoria.
Yeah, a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for being here on my inaugural episode. I said it twice.
That's twice.
I did. Thank you guys for listening. We will be back. I don't know who my next guest will be, but stay tuned for when we do that and you can listen.